With the news, I'm Shifar Alago, and thank you for watching us. We begin our stories with the following headlines. More collective actions to address climate change. And the UN terminates mandate of a transition mission in Sudan. On the sidelines of COP28, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed received at the Ethiopian Green Legacy Pavilion the President of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel. The two leaders discussed global climate change commitments, bilateral cooperation, and national development endeavors. The Premier met with Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo this morning at the Ethiopian Green Legacy Pavilion on the sidelines of COP28 in an exchange on bilateral cooperation. Melat Workohailu and Tadesse Lemma have been nominated for chairmanship of the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia, NEBE. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed named a committee tasked to recruit a candidate for chairmanship of NEBE last month. The committee established by the Premier has held a press conference to explain about the activities it has undertaken since assuming office. The committee stated that it shortlisted 5 out of 56 nominees it had received from the public, and 2 of the nominees have been chosen based on detailed criteria and recruitment process, the committee told the media. The 2 nominees will be referred to the Prime Minister, and the one will be chosen and then appointed as chairperson of the NEBE after approval by the National Parliament. And in business, Ethiopian ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Lencho Bati, participated in the Jazan Investment Forum held for 2 days in Jazan, Saudi Arabia. During the sideline meeting, the ambassador held discussions with Jazan City Governor Prince Mohammed bin Nasser and Deputy Governor of Governor Prince Mohammed bin Abdulaziz bin Mohammed Al Saud, and conferred on potential economic cooperation between the 2 countries. The ambassador has also participated in a panel discussion where he explained the wide range of investment opportunities and favorable economic policy reform in Ethiopia. He used the occasion to invite a Saudi Arabian business delegation to visit Ethiopia to assess various areas of investment such as agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and other sectors.
This is the Alley of the Baobabs.
Hands down my favorite tree. And although you can see a particular species in mainland Africa and another in Australia, this is the motherland of the baobab, with 6 original species to choose from, these being the tallest. So I'd say Madagascar is the best place in the world to see them.
Most agree they're at least 500 years old. More even say that they're in the thousands of years old.
Show me all the places I've never known, and we'll chase the night.
And now let's turn our attention to stories selected for detailed analysis. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has called upon developed economies to implement the target set based on the global stake tech to alleviate the negative impacts of climate change. Addressing the COP28 summit in the UAE, the Premier underlined that Africa is a strong ally in fighting climate change. He, however, cautioned that the continent of 54 nations remains highly exposed to the impact of climate, despite contributing the least. Haptam Ashagri tells you more.
Recently, global warming is a huge challenge that's seriously affecting developing economies. The COP28 Climate Change Conference kicked off in UAE to discuss and bring solutions to alleviate the negative impact of climate change. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said further activities are needed to overcome the challenge.
It has been more than 3 decades since climate change is a global political issue. Agreements have been adopted. We have made good strides in combining the climate agenda with the socio-political and economic dimensions of sustainable development, but the assessment of our actions under the global stocktake shows that we are far from the 1.5-degree target. This has a dramatic impact on the most affected countries.
Despite launching Green Growth Belt project in Africa, the Premier underlined that the economy of African countries are seriously exposed to complications of climate change.
Africa is a strong ally in fighting climate change, and we are striving to drive green growth both within the continent and globally. However, we remain highly exposed to the impact of climate despite contributing the least. Recurrent droughts, intensified floods, and livestock loss are some of the many climate shocks that have affected lives and livelihoods of our people over the years.
Homegrown solutions that Ethiopia is implementing are key strategies to control the negative impact of climate change complication, Ahmed underlined.
A powerful natural-based solution launched in 2019. Over the last 5 years, we established 130,000 nurseries across the country, and yearly millions of people mobilize in seedling, planting, and seedling management. Our Green Legacy initiative represents a proactive response to pressing environmental and socio-economical challenges. It reduces carbon emission, preserves our biodiversity, creates jobs, and boosts sectors such as tourism.
The Premier called upon developing economies need to take serious action to curb the problem based on their commitment to alleviate climate change complications. Ahmed stresses that Ethiopia has adopted and implemented various projects to curb climate change as well as to ensure food security across the country.
And finally, with 14 votes in favor, the United Nations Security Council voted Friday to terminate the mandate of the UN Transition Mission in Sudan. The mission was established in 2020 to support Sudan during its political transition to democratic rule. Shagai Mata was more on that from African News.
The United Nations Security Council voted Friday to terminate the mandate of the UN Transition Mission in Sudan UNITAMS. The mission will work to cease its operations and transfer its tasks when possible to UN agencies, funds and programs started December 4th.
The United Kingdom would not have chosen to close UNITAMS at this moment. We commend the work done by the mission before and since the outbreak of the conflict. But given the unequivocal demand of the Sudanese authorities for the immediate termination of UNITAMS, we have worked tirelessly as penholder